Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa, and today we have chef from Italian restaurant Uccellino, Jayden Sanderson. All right, Jayden, welcome.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, bro. How's your day, man?
It's been great so far, yeah.
What you been up to?
Can't complain, it's a day off, so I get to sleep in and kind of just have my morning to myself.
Yeah.
It's been great. I'm going to a concert later tonight,
Oh,
which
are
is
you?
great. Yeah.
Oh, the Queen of Stone?
Queens of the Stone
Bro,
Age.
I set that up. I was just there setting it up in the morning.
No way,
yeah.
Heading to that later today, but besides that, just a chill day off.
Nice, cool. So, can you tell me about the journey to becoming a chef?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it's been a pretty long journey. At 23 years old now, I am 7 years in the industry, which is kind of crazy to say. I started back when I was 15, 10th grade. Initially got a job just at the Keg, which is right across the street from our high school, and kind of just started from there. Started washing dishes, didn't really know what I wanted to do in life. Kind of had an idea that I wanted to cook, but nothing really like concrete. So ended up getting a job there washing dishes, did that for about 6 months until I moved up to the line, where I started just prepping small things like salads and desserts and stuff like that, just super easy cold stuff. And then I realized that, whoa, this is a really cool thing that I can do, and the environment in a kitchen is really like no other. It's kind of hard to explain to someone who hasn't been in a busy kitchen on a Friday or Saturday night, but it is ridiculous. It's a perfectly oiled machine when everything goes well, a perfectly oiled machine, and everyone's just passionate, everyone's just super focused, and everyone's just dialed in and just rocking their station. So I saw that at such a young age and kind of thought that I should pursue this. So I ended up continuing working there. A year after that, from salads, I kind of moved into more of the hot appetizers kind of thing, and kind of stepped into more of an entree thing, started grilling, started expediting, kind of stuff like that, prepping. Ended up working my way all around this building. The last time I counted, it was 10 or 11 positions there that I ended up knowing. Kind of transitioned into some front of house stuff as well. But just kind of, starting from there just gave me such kind of planted the seed in my brain where I was this is it. This is what I was meant to do. And I kind of just focused my life around that, from my teenage years and being in high school. I was working full time in high school. I centered my schedule around my work. I would take fourth block spares so I could go to work earlier.
Takes priority.
Yeah, which, maybe wasn't the best idea if you go back and look at some of my grades, but, here we are, so. And from there, I went to culinary school, took a year off in after we graduated, went to culinary school from Nate, did the full 2-year diploma program. Unfortunately, that was right peak COVID, semester started 2020, so it was a little different than it is now, which is unfortunate, but it was still great. I still learned a lot and met a lot of cool people, and graduated from that 2021. And then from there, I was able to go to Europe to go work at 2 restaurants there, which was a really, really cool opportunity. Kind of just, in the industry, it's called staging. It's basically just a unpaid internship. So I was kind of an intern there I was there for 2 months. And after that, I got back and kind of, wanted to try new things. I was still working at the Keg there, and I stepped out of that last year. Went to a restaurant. I was only there for about 3 months, and now I'm at Uccellino, which is a really great place. The team there is amazing. The food we put out is incredible. Some of the best in Edmonton. It's been wonderful. So that's kind of been my journey, just to kind of
right. I'm sure there's more to that.
There's so much more.
Different memories, the days that go by.
Yeah.
But that's amazing though. So you didn't know what you wanted to do before starting at the Keg? Yeah.
Initially, when I applied there in the interview, they were asking, what do you want to do in life? And I told them I was computer programming, because I didn't know. I was young, 15. No real direction at that point. So it was great, a great opportunity.
Is there a specific memory where you just got hooked? In mind, memory of
yeah, for sure. It was definitely right pretty much the first day that I stepped up into into the salads position. Yeah, after I finished washing dishes, because washing dishes is washing dishes. You know, it's not the greatest. And stepping right into the salads position there, I was like, holy shit! And just like seeing everyone around me just like working so hard for the same goal of just like, let's just make good food. Let's just like make people happy. I was like, oh fuck, this is it. So kind of from there, I was like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Right.
Yeah.
How does one succeed in the food business though? Because it does take a lot of art, right? And you need to be able to communicate, and you need to be able to design and follow instructions and be creative. So how did you do it?
So yeah, definitely the restaurant industry is, you know, it's a beast.
It's cutthroat.
It is incredibly cutthroat. Yeah, it's challenging. It's difficult. It's not for the faint of heart. But at the same time, it's very rewarding. I am so incredibly happy with what I do, and you know, when I get off of a long day where I've you know given my all, it's like no better feeling than just like driving home and being like,
a 12-hour day.
Yeah, you know, like I just left it all there, and you know, I did my best and made people happy. So yeah, it's, you know, succeeding in the food industry is, you know, it takes a lot. You know, like as you said, it's a lot of different components and a lot of different traits that you need to do that. You know, you have to be hardworking. You know, you have to like really have patience too, because you're gonna work with like a lot of shitty people. There's a lot of fucking.
A lot of people will test you.
People. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, you have to be patient. You have to be passionate, because you know you're not gonna ever continue to move up if you're not passionate, right? You have to be creative, most definitely. You know, something as versatile as food. You know, like something's been done a million times. Like what are you gonna change about it, right? What are you gonna do to make it yours? To, you know, switch it up. So definitely you have to be that.
Because one could follow instructions, right? They could look at a recipe and like go, okay, that they could measure it up and be very precise.
Definitely.
But that doesn't really make you a chef, right? You're just good at following instructions.
For sure, yeah. Right? That's the thing. Like anyone can cook. Anyone can follow a recipe, can look at a sheet and follow word for word exactly what it is and make something great, which is kind of the beauty of cooking. But at the same time, you know, it takes someone that truly knows what they're doing to like innovate and to make something new and to, you know, have like good food that comes from yourself and not just from like someone else's recipe or like a website. Not that there's anything wrong with that, of course. But you know.
Right.
So yeah, it definitely takes a lot to learn that skill of, and I'm still working on it. Like I'm not saying I'm not, you know, the next Marco Pierre White or whatever, but
But if you do go to a restaurant, right, you're not expecting someone to just follow instructions. You're expecting someone to give you an art form.
For sure, yeah.
Right? To see that piece and it looks beautiful, it's aesthetic, it's put in a certain way.
Definitely.
And not only that, it has to taste good.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It has to be a mix of all these things.
Yeah.
And so what differentiates someone who just is good at following instructions versus someone who is actually a good chef?
Yeah. You know, it's a lot of just time and effort into that. Like really just have to be passionate about what you do. Like the current team that I'm working with at Uccellino, everyone wants to be in that building. Right. You know, there's no one in there that's like, oh, this sucks. Oh, I hate going to work. Everyone wants to be there, and everyone wants to put out the best food possible. And I feel like that's really it. You know, as long as you love what you do and you're passionate about the food that you're creating, something will eventually come out, and it'll be great, and people will recognize that and enjoy it. You know, there's a lot of restaurants out there, like a lot of bigger chain restaurants, that, you know, they just have people in the back who are, it's just a job for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. People need to work. But it's just them coming in and just, you know, 9 to 5, crush it out, get paid, whatever. And they don't really care about what they're putting on a plate. They don't really care about the customer experience. And that's what differentiates them and like a really, truly great chef.
It's a great response, man. I've never really looked at food that way, right?
Yeah.
There's so much to it.
Definitely.
And I was going to ask you what the culture is like, but you kind of already provided that. Right?
Yeah.
But in general, what is the kitchen like generally? Because you've worked in many kitchens, right? You've gone to Europe, you've been at the Keg for, what, 6 years? Yeah. 6 years, and now you work at Uccellino.
Yeah.
So generally, what is the culture like? I mean, there are gonna be those people, right? They're lazy. That's
For sure.
And they're
Get
gonna
that
be
everywhere.
yeah. There's gonna be people that are super hardworking, but generally you kind of get a consensus where, what is the culture like after being in it for so long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The people that you will meet working in a kitchen are like the best people ever. They are like ride or die, like will lay down for you. Like it's great. It's fantastic. The bond that you create with those people, so important. Like I cannot stress that enough. It is so important that you have a good relationship with the people that you're working with in a kitchen, because on those busy nights when you're getting slammed and you're anxious and you're shaking and you're like, oh my God, there's 100 people out there all waiting for me to put something on a plate so they can eat it and enjoy their dinner, you know? And when you think about it like that, there are 100 people out there, and it's like, if they don't get their food and they have a terrible night, it's like their night's ruined, you know? And it is on you. And so to have that pressure to deal with that pressure, you need great people around you and you need a good bond. So really the culture is all about supporting each other, all about lending a hand. And of course you get people where they're selfish, they just want to make their own station, their own food look good, and they don't care about everything else. But you know, if you have a cook that does that is doing like main courses, but you know, the appetizers and the desserts are terrible, it's like, well, what's the point? Because sure, that meal was great, that entree was great, but like, how was the meal as a whole? How was that appetizer? Not that good. How was that dessert? Not the best, right? So really, you have to all work together to create something amazing. And so those people are, like the people that I'm with right now are incredible, amazing, super supportive, super great. Such hardworking people.
Dude, that's great. You mentioned that there's a system to it, right? And you said that after your after dishwashing, you went into the salads, and that's when you got hooked, right? And you looked at the system, and it just synced in perfectly, and everybody did their own part. Yeah. So in Uccellino, describe a perfect day. So how would that come about? So you got the waiter, and the waiter just puts in everything right. Nothing wrong, right? And then you slap that on. Where does that go to after? And then can you take me into the process?
Yeah, for sure. So of course the server takes the order. Right. Hopefully doesn't mess anything up, and hopefully puts it in correctly. Right. Which most of the time they do. They're good people. Okay. Most of the time. Most of the time, right. Not always. And then they take that order, they punch it in. At Uccellino we use iPads to do the ordering. Some other places use different systems and whatnot, but they use iPads, punch in the order, and all of those tickets, they get printed out on printers on everyone's station. So there's about 6 or 7 printers, I think, maybe 5 or 6 printers around the kitchen on everyone's station. They get printed out, and then the head chef picks it up, we'll read it, we'll say, new bill in, everyone starts to get to work. You know, usually it's coursed out in the way that, you know, people want their salads first, so they'll get their salads, and then the next course will maybe be like pasta, and then, you know, it'll go to meat, but basically it's all just like such a well-oiled machine. So where like, you know, we get the bill, it's like, boom, immediately salads are being made. They plate that up, send it out, and then once they're like halfway done the salad, it's like, okay, we're gonna start cooking the pasta. So then the pasta goes out right as they clear the salad, and then same thing with meat. You know, once they're like start eating the pasta, fire the meat, and then that goes out as soon as it's cleared. So it's all like really, really like detailed and really, really like refined, and it takes a long time to do that. You know, it's not all restaurants are like that, and it does take a lot of hard work and a lot of time to develop a system like that.
And it's all first in, first out, right? I mean, like a person that orders first, they're gonna get their food first.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much for the most part, unless there's of course like certain different small nuances to that, but for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, bro, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah, no, it truly is a beautiful thing. It sounds kind of like goofy when I say that, but it truly is just like an amazing thing.
Yeah, when I look at it, I take pictures of my food all the time, especially in places where it's like the food is expensive, because I know somebody put their love into this, and they put their heart into this. And not only that, it looks great and it tastes great. Yeah. Can you tell me your time working overseas in Europe, you said?
Yeah. I went to Norway and Sweden, 2 restaurants. First started in Norway. It's a restaurant called Lees Verket. They're a 1 Michelin star restaurant there, with a well-known chef. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I'm absolutely butcher that. Chef Christopher, we'll call him.
Okay.
I was able to go to Norway and Sweden through a teacher at Nate, who just kind of like ended up liking me and another student who I was luckily friends with. And that teacher kind of got us into contact with someone who knew the chef. And they were able to get us a spot to go there. So this was about a year and a half ago in October 2022. We went to Norway.
How long were you gone for?
About 2 months. Yeah, so about a month in each.
So that's a long time in a country, man.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, about a month in Norway and a month in Sweden. So we're in a city called Bergen. Working there. We did about 3 weeks working there, and it was incredible. That was truly what kind of like took this to like the next level for me.
Yeah.
Because, you can go at the time working at the keg, you can go to any of the kegs across the country and have the same meal, right? But this restaurant was like, okay, this is so specific to this area. It's like a meal like no other, right? So it kind of just like took it from like, yeah, I'm passionate about this. This is what I want to do, to being like, oh shit, like this is like really what I want to do.
What's the restaurant called?
It's called Lees Verket.
Lees Verket. Okay, yeah. It's local?
Yeah, all local, all Norwegian, lots of seafood on there, right? It's just right on the coast there, so they would go out in the morning and catch fresh fish and catch scallops, whatever they can really get, and prepare it that night and serve it. So it was really just like such a fine attention to detail that I hadn't seen before in a restaurant. And just to experience that and be a part of that was just incredible.
You haven't seen it? It wasn't like that in the keg?
Absolutely not. No, it's just working at a chain restaurant. You get your food from some place that's grown across Canada. And again, nothing wrong with that, but it's different from having an ingredient that's grown on the other side of the country from an ingredient that was picked in the mountains of Norway. It's totally different. So and of course, like the numbers are completely different, right? At the keg, there would be like, say on like a busy Friday, Saturday night, it'd be like 400, 500, 600 people. And at Lees Verket, you do like 50 people a night, just because it's so, you can't serve that many people with the amount of attention that they were putting into the dishes. Right. So yeah, it's a trade-off, like you trade quality for quantity, right? You can't really do both with a smaller team. So I really, really loved my time there. And then from there, we went to Sweden, went to Gothenburg, and worked at a restaurant called Vro, spelled V-R-A, pronounced Vro, which is a Norwegian Japanese fusion restaurant. Oh, wow. So really cool, really interesting, as someone who had just had experience working with Norwegian food for the first time, and someone who had never had experience with Japanese food at all, to be able to be there and kind of learn those two cultures and kind of combine them was super, super cool, super interesting. And it kind of, again, like changed my perspective. And, because you kind of think of like fusion food as sometimes being like maybe a little tacky, like maybe, just like it's just a gimmick kind of thing.
How did they even do that though? Like they're combining Japanese and Norwegian. Yeah. So do you look at like the kind of the sushi, the general food for Japanese people, and then for Norwegians, and then how do you come up with dishes like that?
Well, exactly. That's the thing, right? So at that restaurant, there was a lot of Japanese dishes, but using Norwegian ingredients. So doing things like sashimi, but using Norwegian fish caught locally. Right. So there's a lot of just like stuff like that where it was like Japanese concept, but Norwegian ingredients, which is super cool and something that I hadn't experienced in a restaurant ever. So I haven't seen a fusion restaurant combine two cultures so beautifully as I did there, and to be able to eat there, let alone work there, was amazing. It was incredible.
That's great, man. Yeah. And it wasn't just cooking there too, right? You actually got to travel all around, or were you just focused on cooking?
Yeah, we got to check out the cities and enjoy our days off and go out and whatnot. And both of those cities are amazing. I would love to return to Bergen, Norway. That was
to work there or to just
both.
travel?
Honestly, yeah. It would be an honor to work there again. I'd love to do it. It'd be kind of hard to just like completely move there to work, but just to travel. It's a beautiful place. There's lots to do. It's got a great food scene there. I mean, just like right on the coast with all that fresh seafood. So yeah, both amazing places.
That's great, man. I mean, that's people's dream, right? To be able to travel to beautiful places and still work, right? And, they were giving you good hours and.
It was wonderful. It really felt like we were a part of the team there. You know, they really respected us, which was lovely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
See, for me, I'm not really the best cook, right? I can follow instructions that you talked about.
Yeah.
But how does one get good at cooking, though?
Yeah.
Right? Like, because one can just follow instructions and they can just measurement. I took foods class in high school and middle school, and it just didn't really teach you about food. Like they did, but they just taught you how to follow instructions.
Right.
You know, and what kind of the properties and ingredients and all this. So, how would you advise someone? How could one get started to get good at cooking?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something that I'm super passionate about, especially now with the rising cost of food and the cost of living right now. It's crazy.
I'm sure a lot of people ask you that question too.
Oh, for
right?
sure. Yeah.
Because people don't want to go outside to a restaurant each time. They actually want to prepare something that's like a restaurant.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, definitely. Getting good at cooking. Cooking in itself is very simple. You know, it really boils down to really two things: the cook of it and the seasoning of it. As long as you nail the cook of something and the seasoning, you're good, right? Like think, for example, you know, you have like everyone's had it, like an overcooked piece of chicken that's just like
dry,
gross, not enjoyable to eat at all. And then change nothing about the dish, but just cook the chicken to be, you know, a little less over, make it more moist. It's infinitely better, so much better. That experience is taken from, oh, I don't want to eat this, oh, this is kind of gross, to, yeah, this is wonderful. That's all it takes. So really, as long as you nail the cook and the seasoning, anyone can be a great cook. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be like a lot of difficult techniques. It can just be as something simple as chicken and rice. If you cook the rice well, it'll be good. If you cook the chicken well, it'll be great. You know?
Timing.
Really, yeah, timing. Yeah.
Then again, do I use the clock? Do I go based on how it looks? Or?
Right, yeah. So that's kind of where experience really plays a part in this. So if you don't have the experience of, you know, the time to cook a chicken or how to season, the amount of seasoning you need, really it'll just come down to either following a recipe, which really anyone can do, or just like trial and error. I can't tell you the amount of times I've completely destroyed a dish of like completely making it like way too salty or overcooking the hell out of it or whatever, right? And those experiences kind of just like build up in the back of my head, and I'm not thinking about it while I'm cooking it, but it's kind of just like passive knowledge, you know? So the next time I like cook a chicken, I'll think, okay, last time I left it in the pan skin side down too long and now it's burnt, you know? I'm not like thinking about that, but now I just like subconsciously know, okay, maybe I need a little bit less time. And it really just takes that trial and error and just trying. It's really disheartening to see some people who are kind of afraid to cook, who don't want to cook, who think that it's a difficult thing, because cooking is not difficult. It's simple. Anyone can cook a great meal. And I highly advise that everyone goes and tries it, because it's rewarding. It is, man. And it can be fun, you know. Like if I'm sitting at home one night and I'm like, oh, I'm really craving this, you know, instead of me going out and you know dropping $30 on a meal, right? I can just go and
that must
make
be
it
nice.
myself.
You go to Walmart and you're your own chef. So.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's you don't have to be a chef to do that. You know, anyone can do it.
Yeah. What's your philosophy behind cooking? So how do you approach the dishes and the philosophy in general?
Yeah, well, kind of like I said earlier, it all comes down to the cook and the seasoning. So really just like nailing those two things is so important. But kind of outside of that, just having passion for what you do. If you truly are passionate about cooking, passionate about whatever you're putting on a plate, it'll come out good. It will eventually come out good. It'll take a couple times, but just like give it a shot and just, put your heart into it and just truly be mindful of the movements that you're doing, of what you're putting in it. Just give it your all, really. And it'll come out well. So just do what you love, really. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to,
From I've talked to a lot of people, and it seems that there's been a struggle. I don't know if it's always been like that, but a lot of people don't know what to do, right? And I know people we went to high school with, they tell me, how do you know what you want to do? I don't, man. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. And you say passion, and you've clearly found a passion for cooking, and you're great at it. Yeah. And it's been very rewarding, very fulfilling. How do you know if cooking is for you? Because I mean, I'll use the example of when I was younger, I really wanted to be a singer, and I want to play guitar, music. But then, I don't know, I was passionate about it, I thought so. But then I just, I changed my mind, or I guess it wasn't for me after years of doing it. So when it comes to cooking, how does one know that's for them? Because I mean, you could be practicing all this time, but maybe you're just not good at it, right? Maybe you're just not. Because I know even for like the Olympics, maybe you just don't have the correct build, right?
Right.
Like maybe it's just for singing. Maybe you just don't have a naturally good voice, and no matter how much you try, you just won't get it.
Sure.
Is cooking the same, or can anyone be good at it?
Anyone can be good at cooking. I think it takes a specific person to be a good chef. You have to be a leader. You have to be fearless. You have to just have that passion, that just like undying passion. And so really to know what it takes, you kind of have to just like step into a restaurant, because it doesn't matter how good of a home cook you are, like you can plate up great dishes and make amazing food at home, but if you step into a restaurant and you hate it, maybe a chef isn't for you. And there's tons of different opportunities from there. You can be a private chef, which is more like home cooking, or do whatever, but really just like stepping into a restaurant and just like feeling the environment, and just like being aware of your surroundings, and think of like, is this chaos that's happening around me, is this for me? Right. Yeah.
And you've mentioned passion a lot. Can you go into that? Can you go in depth? So when you make a dish, right, how does that, is it the same feeling each time that you look at it and you just feel fulfilled? Or I guess it depends on whether you actually did a good job or not. So what does passion mean to you?
Yeah. Really what the heart of my passion comes down to in the restaurant is the customer experience. So when I'm making a dish or I'm putting something together, what I'm thinking about is, how is the person eating this gonna feel about it?
You like visualize it in your head?
Yeah, I visualize the server dropping the plate off, and they're like, because everyone's had that moment. You go to a restaurant and they bring the food out and they put it down, and you either go, this looks crazy, or this looks terrible. Right. So I visualize that as I'm cooking and think, is what I'm doing right now gonna give them that experience? Are they gonna go, holy, look at this plate, like this is crazy, right? This looks amazing. Or are they gonna kind of be turned off by it, or kind of just think whatever of it? Right. So I think about that while I'm cooking, and that really like gives me the passion to go and put the best food out that I possibly can, because that's amazing. I love nothing more than going out to a restaurant with a group of friends and having that experience. And so all I want to do is just give that to other people, right? And then, of course, they have a great meal, they have a great time, they tell their friends about it, they tell their family, they come in, they have a great time, and it's just kind of like that chain of like, oh my God, you have to try this restaurant, right? And it just continues like that. And it's all just based on people having a good time. So like really that's what it's about for me. It's just, that's where that passion comes from, is thinking about the people. And
that's awesome, man. Yeah. And you had mentioned that that look on their face when they do get the meal and they go, wow, this is beautiful. Yeah. What about when they eat it and it doesn't taste so good, right? Now, where do you draw the line between aesthetics and taste, right? And how do you find out if it tastes good? I mean, do you taste it each time? Because when you look at it, I look at a chicken, right? I mean, like you can't really just take a piece in it, because like, do you guys do that? You guys don't do that, right?
You
guys have to just base it off the look. Trust
that you
yourself.
did a good job.
So yeah, how does one draw the line or decipher, between aesthetics and taste? Because a dish could look amazing, but when you bite into it,
it's about how it tastes.
It doesn't taste good. But then it could be the other way around, where it doesn't look great, but it tastes amazing.
Yeah,
right?
No, for sure. That's a great question. That's really, really like just finding the line of that, because it's a difficult thing. And when it comes to tasting things and sending them out, we taste things 100 times, right? Like every single pasta sauce that I'm making, I'm tasting it. I'm giving it to someone else to taste. We're all like checking off on it. And that's like every plate that goes out. And some things it's difficult, like you say, like a chicken, you kind of just have to trust that you did a good job, and that, you're sending something out that they're going to enjoy. But for most things, we can, give it a taste. Like if you're making a salad or something like that, just take a dressed piece and eat it, see what they are going to experience and kind of adjust it from there.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of just like finding that line of aesthetics and the taste, because as you said, it doesn't matter how good it looks if it tastes like shit, right?
Exactly.
It really doesn't matter.
Right.
So I think that's really where the restaurant I work at, Uccellino, really like hits the nail on the head, because the plates look beautiful, but at the same time, we're not there like using tweezers to put every individual piece into place to make it perfect, because that'll take way too long, right? So it's really about just like nailing the food, how it tastes, and then working on the aesthetics after. And it's really finding that balance, and some places really struggle doing that. There's a lot of places where the food looks amazing and it tastes terrible. So it's just the balance.
Do you have any experience with cooking steaks?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, dude. I've just started.
Yeah.
Right. So first off, I want to start with which one's the healthiest. You get the. Can you go through the ranks?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely like a leaner cut of meat is definitely going to be healthier for you. Something with less fat in it. You could use a lot of different cuts, and really like it's hard to kind of like grade them, because this one might be lower in fat, but this one might be higher in something else. So I'm not like a food nutritionist, so I'm not extremely well versed in that. But something like a fillet, something like super tender but not a lot of fat on it, is like kind of where you want that. I'm sure there's many other leaner cuts of meat, but I'm not really like well versed in that. Lots of experience cooking steak. That's really like was the main focus of the keg. So I don't even know how many steaks I've cooked. But,
how many, if you had to guess?
Like definitely
thousands.
Yeah, thousands for sure.
10,000.
I don't know about that high. Maybe like a 2,000 to 3,000 range. It would be my guess. It's a lot of steaks. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know there's. Is rare, or no? I know there's blue.
Yeah,
right?
there's blue rare and then rare.
Isn't that dangerous? That's like you're not cooking that.
Yeah, so
blue.
Yeah.
Did you actually order that?
Yeah, definitely.
Really? Are people just shocked though? Like when you hear blue, I have never heard that. I've seen it.
You'd be surprised. Like really? It's not super common, but you'd be surprised about how many people prefer their steak like that.
Cow, man.
Yeah. That's that kind of like brings me to another point too about like a misconception about food safety. Again, like it's such a huge topic these days, because I see so much food waste. I mean, the waste in restaurants is already just incredible. Like you could not believe the amount of food that gets wasted. But people throwing food out after they think it's like not good or it's gone bad, really.
Whole thing. Boom.
When really it hasn't. And a big part of that is like, oh, you think that something's cooked improperly. So like a blue steak, it might not be your thing, it might not be my thing, but it's safe to eat. It's perfectly okay. Like it's
people don't get sick from it.
Like, no.
Okay.
The bacteria in beef comes from really the processing of it. So when it's being like cut down and as the animal's being slaughtered, really like all that bacteria and like in the processing plant is what makes it bad. So as soon as you sear off that outside, you're good. And there's
nothing inside.
Oh, the inside can be completely
E. coli
raw.
or anything, because that's when I cook my
Yeah.
steaks, there's still a little bit of blood inside, right? My mom's like, cook that, you're gonna get sick. And I'm like, I like it this way.
Yeah, no,
it's medium rare still has that like little red part, right?
Yeah. It's for the most part perfectly safe. Even like just eating, you know, like on the menu at Uccellino we have carpaccios, and it's a high grade beef. It's processed well. Carpaccio, yeah, which is it's a thinly sliced, just raw cut of meat, not seared, not cooked in any way. We just freeze it and cut it, and it's safe to eat, perfectly safe.
And the protein actually gets digested. Like when you eat the protein, it actually like works with your muscles. Doesn't just like doesn't process. Yeah. Even if it doesn't get cooked.
Down. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of like misconceptions about that. Yeah.
This is great. What's your favorite dish?
Overall,
out of all the dishes you've cooked, what's kind of Jayden Sanderson's dish? Key signature dish. That's what they call it, right?
Yeah, signature dish. Yeah,
where like you were to cook someone one thing.
Yeah.
Ever. Signature dish, and they'll just be like wowed by the aesthetics, by just the arts, the taste, everything. Right?
Such a loaded question.
It is a loaded question.
There's so many options.
But have you ever? Do you have one thing to nail down, or maybe that's too hard, maybe top 3?
I can definitely give you a top 3. I think I have like the top 1, but I'll give you a top 3. Sure. I think one of my most favorite dishes that I have made, just like straight my own recipe, my own creation. I made a pumpkin gnocchi. So like a
pumpkin gnocchi?
Yeah, like a pumpkin potato gnocchi. It's just a form of pasta. And I did that with a brown butter sauce. So just taking butter, browning it, like literally just cooking the hell out of it. I did caramelized mushrooms with that as well, cremini mushrooms.
I'm just trying to visualize that in my head. It just sounds so foreign. Like, is that like Italian? Or is that
Italian based, yeah.
Italian-based.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I whipped up some goat cheese with some maple syrup. Nice like tart and sweetness from the...
This is dessert?
No. It's like main course pasta.
Right.
Whipped that up and on top of that. And that was probably one of the favorite things that I've ever cooked. I made that for an assignment when I was in school and got top marks for that. So
wow.
And I made it a couple of times since with a couple adjustments, and it's been wonderful. So I think that is like, if you had to call my dish a signature dish, I think it'd be that.
Yeah.
But you know, I do enjoy cooking other things as well. Like I enjoy baking quite a bit. Signature dish would definitely be like a lemon meringue raspberry pie. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's really, really good. And oh man, hard to choose a third one for sure. Hard to choose a third one. I'd say just like a nice like reverse seared steak, just like strip loin, just nice like roasted vegetables on the side, because that's like really like my like core, because like working at the keg, that's very like keg-esque.
Dude, I love steaks. They're my number one, man. I love steaks so much.
Yeah.
They're great.
Wonderful. So that's the top 3.
Dude, that's great. What would you say to someone who wants to be a chef, right? Let's say they're just starting out, they don't really know where to start, and what would you recommend?
Yeah, so initially just see if you like cooking. You know, cook some things at home, see if it's working for you, if you enjoy what you're doing, if you're having fun while doing it, you know, and if you enjoy cooking at home, I was just taking a look like online, you know, like watch some shows or movies or whatever. Kind of get into that later, because there's a couple ones that I would really stay away from. Kind of just like look into the culture, and you know, maybe pick up some books, read some things, just kind of see what it's about and know what you're getting into. And then go work at a restaurant. You know, you don't have to immediately step into culinary school. You don't have to devote your life, you know, get a part-time job cooking, and see if the restaurant environment is for you. Recognize if it's something that you want to pursue and continue. And if you do, that's great. Keep going, you know, keep working your way up. Enjoy what you do, be passionate about what you do, and try not to get sick of it. You know, it's super easy in the industry to just like, you just burn out, you know, like burnout is such a huge problem in the cooking industry, and just, you know, giving your life away for, 10 years and just being like, I can't do this anymore. It's common.
Because I know you guys don't get much breaks.
No. At the keg, it was like no breaks. Wow. Yeah, like never took a break there.
Really?
For like the 6 years, yeah. And if it was like a quick like 5-minute smoke or something like that.
Right.
At Uccellino, we do get like a half-hour break where we get to sit down and eat a meal together right before service.
And you make all the meals?
Yeah. Everyone makes food for each other, which is great. So it's different from restaurant to restaurant, but for sure, like burnout is a huge problem. So try to avoid burnout and just do what you love. If you enjoy doing it, continue. Maybe go to culinary school. Maybe look into staging and learning at different restaurants. Just try to get as much experience as possible.
You had mentioned the food channel, right? No,
yeah.
Now, is that a good representation of what it's actually like? Because I think for most people, they just picture Dave Ramsey. Or not, Gordon Ramsay. Dave Ramsey's the financial guy. Gordon Ramsay just yelling at the top of their lungs, like the chef, like pissed off. He's the number one chef, right?
Yeah, like the most popular chef.
Most popular chef. Is the food channel a good representation of the the food industry? And if so, right, are there any like good channels to watch? I'm sure there are good ones and there are bad ones, but for the most part, the Food Network, the food channels are a terrible representation of the food industry. It's kind of hard to watch some of those shows sometimes because nervous person just making a cake,
breaking down. And I was like, oh god.
I'm like, that's kind of what deters me from the food industry. I know. The food channel, it's so intense. I'm like, oh gosh, people.
And that's kind of the unfortunate thing, some people see that and think like, oh, that's what you do. Like some people will ask me like completely genuine, be like, oh, like
you must be
Gordon Ramsay, like you have a chef yelling at you, like they think that's the normal and the standard across the industry, which sucks. It sucks to have the industry kind of like slandered like that. Kind of have a bad image painted of it, because it doesn't have the best image to start with. So most of those food shows are pure entertainment. It's played up for the camera. They're acting.
Sometimes it's scripted, right? You never really know.
No, exactly, and it's not a good representation of the industry.
You mentioned there are bad ones and good ones.
Yeah, okay. For sure. Like Kitchen Nightmares. Like stay away from Kitchen Nightmares if you want like a true representation of the food industry. It's entertaining, like don't get me wrong. Right. I've watched my fair share of it. Hell's Kitchen too.
Right.
Not
good.
No. Again, entertaining, but not a representation. There's a couple good ones out there. There's an older one, Anthony Bourdain, who's a chef. Passed away a couple of years ago, but he used to have a show. I forget what it's called. It's something about like traveling, where he just like goes around, travels the world, and will just like eat at restaurants and talk about the culture and whatnot. The name is kind of slipping me right now, but that is like wonderful. He goes in, cooks different things.
You should start one.
Yeah, that's the dream, right?
Yeah.
But no, there are good ones out there. Mostly the more educational side of things is where you'll find that. Which is not really the Food Network. They're worried about the entertainment.
But then again, people don't really like the education part, right?
Right.
Like
Drama, no, exactly. But if you want to get into the industry, definitely look at the more educational shows and stay away from those more entertainment focused ones.
You had mentioned burnout, right?
Yeah.
How you said it's actually very common in the food industry. How do you prevent that? And for a person that undergoes burnout, how do you bounce back?
Yeah, so burnout is like I said, incredibly common. It's something that I've experienced. It's something that I think every chef in the industry has experienced. And unfortunately, it does cripple people's industries. Unfortunately, they do step away or go into something else. And really preventing burnout and avoiding it really just comes down to how you spend your time off from work.
Yeah.
So, really just connecting with your friends, connecting with your loved ones, your partner, whatever it may be, just really focusing on spending time with them, doing things that you genuinely enjoy doing, and really savoring that time that you have off. That'll really, really help with burnout. Because there's been times in my life, I know, working at the keg, sometimes it'd go like 13 days in a row of working, right? And it's hard to do that without, breaks in there. So, instead of just like coming home from a long shift, I can easily just go lie down in bed, right? I can just say, I'm so tired, all I want to do is sleep. I can sleep in, I can wake up, shower, go to work the next day. And then that's my whole day. I spent all of my time off sleeping, resting, whatever, which is important. Rest is, of course, important. But it is even more important to, make time for yourself. Do what you enjoy. For me, it's video games, or, I like climbing, like rock climbing.
Still play League?
Yeah. much less than I did.
Right.
Yeah. Doing things that you enjoy doing, spending time with my partner, like, really helps. Watching a movie, doing stuff like that, just taking those breaks and savoring that time will absolutely help with burnout.
Because at the same time, right, you want to prioritize food, work, you want to master the craft, but at the same time, you also don't want to make it so mind-numbing where it's just like, that's all you do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's important to actually put yourself out there rather than just work all the time. You've never viewed it as a chore though? Like, you've never gone to that stage?
No, definitely. It's definitely become a chore sometimes. Still is, like, I'll come home after a day and I'll just be like, okay, the last thing I want to do is cook. Last thing I want to do is make something for myself. And, that's where I'll order food, or, I'll make ramen noodles, right? Like, there's, I'm not immune to that. So
I wanted to ask you about fast food, but you want to go finish it?
Yeah. So, it's difficult because even though I'm so incredibly passionate about cooking, sometimes cooking at home is a chore for me. And, sometimes I'll just like make ramen noodles, frozen pizza, whatever, fast food, but really just like having easy recipes that I can just throw together really quickly really helps with that. Yeah.
Because I know with chefs, I've heard that they can become critical with all the dishes that come their way. You ever find yourself like critiquing all the dishes? Oh my gosh, what is that?
No, that's good. It's difficult for sure, because there's kind of that part in my brain that has been switched on from the cooking industry, where I taste something and I'm immediately thinking of all the different flavors that I'm tasting and what could improve this, what can make it better. I'm immediately thinking that, like, almost every time that I taste something. So for me to go and have dinner and my mom cooks, like, I'm thinking about that as I'm eating it, which is not, it's not the best thing. And, of course, I'm like so incredibly grateful anytime I go somewhere to eat, or anytime someone cooks for me. I could not be more grateful for them for doing that for me. But it is difficult to go places and constantly be in this mode of like, this isn't that best, this is overcooked, this is undercooked, this needs more seasoning, this needs less seasoning, right? Like, just thinking about that everywhere, every time I taste something. So yeah, it's difficult sometimes, but I'm not vocal about it. I'm not going to tell my mom that, your mashed potatoes are way too salty. Yeah.
I find that when you get good at something, right, you notice just the little things. Because I know with working out for me, or even for running, right, or even just discipline in general, when you see that this person isn't doing it right, you're just like so quick to notice. And a quote that I'm kind of similar in the way where I just don't say it, because it's just like, what would they do, right? You're just gonna.
Do you want to be rude or whatever?
Yeah, you don't want to be rude. It's be strict with yourself and tolerant with others. By Marcus Aurelius, actually. And that quote's helped me so much. Where it's like, instead of critiquing everything, right, I could just be okay. It's up to me. If it's not myself, right, I don't need to be so strict, right? I could just be accepting. And you had mentioned you were grateful for the people that do stuff for you, and how does gratitude play into your life?
Yeah, good question for sure. Definitely, of course, when it comes to cooking, most people expect me to cook for them, right? It's like, oh, you're a chef, make me something, like, oh, can you make something for this or whatever, right? So anytime that anyone cooks food for me or makes a meal for me or whatever, that is so, people do not realize how like lovely that is for me. It's very, very nice to have people offer me food instead of the opposite way around, because that's what I've been doing for the last 7 years, right? So I really, really do appreciate that, and I'm very grateful for all of those people that do that. But outside of cooking, just like really just supporting me, you know, just giving me what I need and allowing me to kind of figure things out. My parents have been a huge role in that, you know, from the start. They've been like, yeah, do it. Like, if this is what you want to do, like, go for it. Try it out. You know, like, we'll support you throughout the way, and, you know, we'll give you guidance and whatnot. So just really being grateful for my parents. My friends are the same way, you know, very understanding. I've sacrificed a lot, especially my teenage years, for the cooking industry, you know, like working those late nights and missing out on parties or holidays or whatnot. Like, in the last years that I've been working, last 7 years, I've had one New Year's off, you know, every other New Year's I've been working. Yeah. So it's been just stuff like that, you know, just recognizing that and not shaming me for it, you know. Like, there's been a couple people in my life where they'll invite me out to something and I'll say, hey, sorry, I'm working.
I get mad.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, you don't want to be there, oh, we'll stop inviting you, oh, whatever. But, you know, people that have stuck with me know that, you know, they'll invite me, even if they know that I'm working or whatever, right? Which is really wonderful to have people that do that.
Like the people who actually know that you're passionate about something, who actually know you for who you are, and not just this idea where you're there for the good times all the time, right? Because you're not going to be, like, the reality of the things, you're not going to be there 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Right? There are going to be times where, you know, like, every year, you're going to get, everybody's getting busier and busier.
Yeah, that's life, yeah.
Right? And for, like, people to not understand that, especially at this age, right?
Yeah.
It's just so, I don't know, it's just, those aren't true friends.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Definitely you learn so much about life, right? And just you get to understand that the people who do support you, and no matter what, and I'm very thankful too that I have family, friends that get me, right? And if I can't show up to an event, like I get it, they get it. Right?
For sure.
But yeah, gratitude is important, man, because it just
Absolutely.
magnifies the things that are important, right? Instead of focusing on the negative things, like, you could just highlight the things that are great, and there's so much. Right? You could name a billion things that are great, or you could name a billion things that are negative. Right? Like, sure, your buddy didn't show up, but they're getting after it, right? They're doing something they're passionate about. See, I'm the type of friend that would only admit if it's actually just numbing them, like if they're at home, right, just
wasting away,
then I'd be like, okay. But if they're actually like cook, if they're following their dreams, right, go for it. Right? There's this scene in Good Will Hunting. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah,
where it's like, if I go up to your door, when you're saying to Will, right? Will's the guy, Ben Affleck is the character, and if I go into your door and I wish so bad that you wouldn't open it, right? Because he wants his friend to succeed. And I'm just like, I thought of that scene, I'm like, it's a great friend, right? I wish I had more friends like that. And but yeah, it's great, man. Gratitude's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you ever gonna open a restaurant one day?
Maybe. Maybe. You know, of course, the idea floats around all the time. You know, a million ideas of different places, but it's a difficult industry. You know, like the cost of food, the cost of labor, all the equipment. It's all very expensive for a restaurant, and it's a very thin margin for success in a restaurant. And unfortunately, you know, especially over the last 4 years, where COVID's taken out so many different restaurants and so many places have come and gone, it's hard to look at the industry and think that I'm gonna be able to be successful with a restaurant, because there are many restaurants out there that have great food, have passionate owners, have a great team, and they can't make it. So it's difficult to think about that, but you know, I would love to one day, you know, own my own place. I think really what I'm focused on right now in life would be, end goal would be teaching, really. Just like passing on knowledge and educating the youth would really be my current long-term kind of goal. But you know, if the opportunity presented itself, you know, opening a restaurant would be amazing.
What type of teacher are you, or I should say leader? leader would be probably a better way, because you're managing all these people, right? Because
Right.
the chef, would you say you're at there's only one of you, right, in the Uccellino, or are there co-chefs? How does that hierarchy work?
So kind of the hierarchy of restaurants is like, you've got like the owner or owners, and then there's like the head chef. In Uccellino's case, there's 2 head chefs, it's co-head chef. And then there's a sous chef, and then there's the cooks. So I'm a cook there.
But you're still called the chef, though.
But I'm still like a chef.
Oh,
Yeah. So like I'm not like at the top, like they're still like my chefs, and they like still dictate everything. But yeah, like being a leader, you know, I haven't been that really at Uccellino, but I've been that at the keg, and it's hard, you know, managing all those people, especially on like a super busy night. It's difficult, you know. You can't show your emotions really. It doesn't matter how stressed you are, or you know how concerned you are about this. You have to just like continue on in the restaurant industry, you know, just like brave forward. And because you know, if you start getting flustered and nervous and whatnot, then of course your team will, right? And so yeah, it takes a lot to be a leader. And yeah, I would love to continue to do more of that.
Yeah, emotional contagion, right? With the idea of like, if you're just constantly stressed, right?
Yeah.
What does that say to the people you are teaching?
Yeah.
Are you're teaching them to be stressed under fire, right? Or are you teaching them to have a brave face, to be stoic amidst the chaos?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been a great journey. All this time. Like, how long has it been since we've been in high school? What, like
coming up on 5 years.
5 years. And then the very last question, how has cooking changed your perspective on life?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure when I do like a lot of the things, I like to run, I like to work out, and like when you're in thought, right, lots of these life lessons seem to pop up, right? Like when you're in the activity where you enjoy the most, just you're taught things based on the people around you, the communication, just the resiliency, just how you can persevere through anything, right? Or maybe it's about compassion, but
right.
Yeah, how has cooking change your perspective in life, or maybe reinforce certain things?
Yeah, so cooking is definitely, I don't know the person I would be without cooking. It's given me so much to reflect on. I think one of those things is kind of what we touched on earlier, like gratitude. Really being thankful for the things that people do around me. And you know, even just like going somewhere, doesn't have to be a restaurant, just like dealing with someone working, you know, if I go to the bank or whatever, really, and someone might be like a little rude or whatnot, I'm not immediately jumping to the, you know, oh, fuck that person. That person's an ass, right?
Course,
it's like, this person has a bad day, maybe they're stressed, whatever. And really the kitchen has taught me that, because I've had my fair share of bad and stressful days, and you know, I think of the person that I was in those situations, and maybe I wasn't the strongest, maybe I was rude, maybe I was mean, but at the end of the day, like, I can reflect on that and be like, okay, I'm not that, it was just that moment that made me feel like that. So really just like living life through that. And if I encounter someone who's rude or mean or, you know, whatnot, I'm not immediately thinking that person's a terrible person. I'm thinking, maybe they just had a bad day, maybe they're just stressed out. So really just like truly believing that everyone is good in life, that's kind of what the restaurant industry has taught me, because everyone has their days.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, going further is appreciation for culture, you know, really just learning about the endless void that is cooking, because there's an infinite possibility.
You learn so much.
It's never ending, you know. You go to different countries and different cultures, and you know, you learn all about the hundreds of dishes that you don't know about.
Yeah.
And then from those dishes, there's so many different ways and like techniques and just like small little tiny things, ingredients that I have no idea about. So just, you know, being thankful and appreciating that stuff, right? Like I would love to get a chance to learn about that culture and the way, because everyone's like grandma has a certain little trick
Yeah.
or a certain recipe, and if everyone's grandma's got a certain recipe, there's how many grandmas out there, right? So really just learning about all that stuff, and having a greater appreciation for the world that we live in, because it truly is amazing. And to live in this era where we have social media, to be able to pass that on so easily, it's incredible. I can search up a dish that I've never heard of and try to make it for the first time, right? So it's been amazing.
Yeah, dude, I've seen your dishes, and I met you grade 9, I think then.
Mm-hmm.
Which school did you go to before that?
I went to Holy Spirit, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, grade 9. To see you go from this guy who didn't really know what he wanted to do to now, after visiting the 2 countries and working at the keg and finding your passion, you feel fulfilled. It's taught you gratitude, resiliency, and there's this. I always see like people getting mad at like fast food, like restaurants, right? And you mentioned like you know how to empathize with people, because you've been through those down times, right? When it's just super busy and the dishes aren't exactly the way you wanted them to be, and it's taught you, just outside of cooking too, it's taught you life, right? And you said you continue to learn every day, right? Whether it be like a little tweak here, little that, and not only that, it extends farther than that, and it's just it's truly beautiful, man. But I just wanted to say thank you for coming, bro. And this is is there any last words you want to say to the audience, man?
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the conversation. I love the idea of just talking to people, getting their story, spreading information out about different industries, and thanks for having me. Yeah, dude, when I after this, I usually listen to it 2 times over, so I'm always learning so much more, because there's things I miss. Definitely. I'm like, what, dude? Like, now I know that actually steaks won't kill me, all right? There you go. As long as I actually just cook it properly, right? And I don't know, cooking had so much art to it and beauty, and just thank you. But as always, guys, keep it long term. Thank you, buddy. Nice.